You know that, right? You are just the most gorgeous girl. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You guys are so gorgeous. Yeah, there you go. Come on. Come on. There you go. So you get the boys coming in. Yeah. You're a handsome fella, aren't you? Yes, you are. That's Fred. That's the female cayuga. I used to think Fred was a boy. I was mistaken. Oh, there we go. Alice is that Captain Campbell just came in for some. There you go. Fred's back at it. There you go. One of the boys, either Bill or Bert. I don't know which one's Bill and which one's Bert anymore. I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis. Come back here some more, guys. I'm going to be doing this because I want you guys to be eating it, not the squirrels. The squirrels have been coming over and raiding your food. So, I guess the rule is if you're not going to come over and eat out of my hand, then I'm probably not going to come feed you. There we go. I don't mind feeding you guys. You guys give me eggs. You eat my weeds. Destroy the bugs. Do a good job for me. I appreciate everything you do. That's right. I appreciate everything you do.
Well, hello there, good people. Jason here with Green Country Agroforestry. It's the middle of July, and I just came inside because it started raining. So my little tropical rainforest is getting some rain, by gum. There is that big old pecan tree up there, soaking up the rain and loving it. So this is a squirrel, guys. That's a squirrel right there. This is the critter that's been eating my pears. He ate most of my plums. I got some plums, but this little booger, whenever they started coming ripe, he wasn't willing for them to come all the way ripe. He was just gonna come right on over and start eating them. Oh, by the way, he's not alone. Hang on. We got a partner in crime here. Let me see here. Where you at? There's the trunk of the tree, and you are right there. Yep. So that's his partner in crime. Up in my pecan tree. Yeah, that is my pecan tree, by golly. Mine. Yes, I planted that so that I could get nuts out of it. You know why? You know why? Because well, you love pecans too, I'm sure you do. Because pecans are full of protein, that's right, protein and fat. Very good for critters like me to have plenty of proteins and fats. But you know what happens whenever somebody eats all of my pecans and I still need proteins and fats? Okay, I want you to think about that for a minute. And remember to graze responsibly. Because if I get hungry, I'm gonna have to eat squirrel. All right? Yeah? Okay. All right. Go on, shoo shoo. That chicory you see blooming, that blue there, probably should not be blooming this time of year, but we've had weird weather. So enjoy the extra blue while we've got it. I'm thinking, I probably should include some more spiderwort, because it ordinarily has those blue blooms, and we will be making modifications in the future, because I kind of like having the blues and the reds and the oranges coming together. The little yellows from the peanuts, if you look closely, those are nice too. So when I was young, grandmother sold a large portion of the old family farm to the Tulsa County Parks Department. We kept 10 acres in the family, and that's where I was living. Now, the park had built a baseball diamond, and that was, of course, to the south of where our house was. And they would have baseball games at the baseball diamond. Brilliant, brilliant stadium lights would flood through the window and make it impossible to sleep. So I moved to the other side. All right, so I'm getting off track. At this time, I was still on the south side and had not been troubled by the stadium lights as of yet. But one night, I was sleeping and I woke up. And one of my brothers is in the room with him. And he's come in to talk to me or something. And for some reason, he winds up reading a story to me. Maybe it's because, you know, I'm trying to get back to sleep or whatever. So he reads a story to me. And we had a lot of these fairy tales, and you know, there was Grimm's, and there was a collection of Persian tales, like the Arabian Nights. And there was some from even from old Russia, Tartarian sort of stuff. All just different kinds of things. Man, we had books in German, all kinds of stuff in this library. So my brother, he starts reading to me from one of these books, and I'm enjoying the story. It's great. But he says he's got to go, and he takes off and he leaves. And my brother's reading the story to me, and he takes off. And I sat there waiting for him. I figured, okay, he's going to go to the bathroom. He's going to come back, right? He doesn't come back. So I'm sitting here in the bedroom, lights are on, right? Looking around. And I realized that not only has he left, but he took the book with him. So now I'm a bit perplexed, because I kind of like to, know the rest of the story. This is before I learned how to read really well, so the story was being read to me. I couldn't fully read it myself. It's like, okay, where's the book? Well, it's got to be downstairs. So I went downstairs to get the book. Crap, I can't even remember which book it was. And then I was like, well, shoot, my brother has to have it on. Well, why don't I just, where is he anyway? He's not in the bathroom. So I go back upstairs and across to the north bedroom where my brother was sleeping in the other bedroom, and I wake him up because he's asleep. And he's like, what are you talking about? I wasn't reading a story to you. I'm like, okay. Well, by this time I was aware that my other brother, I have two brothers, half brothers, and different fathers. My other brother is known to sleepwalk. He's been caught doing it a couple of times. Like, oh crap! Wait a minute. I mean, is my sleep-addled brain just so confused that I forgot which brother it was that was reading the bedtime story to me? Of course, it has to have been the other one. So I go to check on him, and of course he's completely out, in bed, asleep, and no book. He doesn't. And so now I go and I'm looking at the bookshelves downstairs. This is really perplexing me. I'm up in the middle of the night, mind you. Everybody else in the house is asleep. They have been asleep. Nobody's woken up. Nobody's been anywhere. Somehow I have had this experience of my brother coming into the room and reading a story from a book to me, and from his book, apparently, and then leaving. And apparently the book is not one of the books on the bookshelf, or it got put back, because they're all where they should be. So this is perplexing to me, right? And now as I think on it, I cannot for the life of me recall actually seeing or remembering what his face looked like. See, he's reading the story to me. I'm sitting on the bed, but he's kind of behind, right? Sitting behind me, reading the story, kind of like over my shoulder, where you have the book in front of you, and the person who's reading the story to you is sitting behind you. You're able to look at the words on the page and see the words on the page, and they're reading the story. This is the experience I was having with my brother. The reason I'm thinking of it is because I was called to mind recently of that bookshelf and all of the books that were on it, including those odd stories. And I mean, really, we had almost everybody's had access to Aesop and Grimm's fairy tales. That's great. How many people have had that, plus the Arabian Nights, other assorted tales from Persia and Russia? Oh. I had the whole gang of them. So, so I was having a hard time figuring out exactly which book of lore or fairy tales or whatever it was being read to me, and I couldn't remember the story. This is the other problem. I can't remember the story. It's like, okay, I know this. I had this book read. I know it was out of one of these books. It's down here. I know that it's down here, but so I began looking for the story. If you've ever had that experience, that's a horrible thing. And of course, I think it was one of the things that really spurred me early on to want to learn how to read, because I wanted to know what was in these books. Like one of these books, my brother had come, he'd read to me some of it, but he didn't finish it, and he'd taken off, and I couldn't remember which book, and I wanted to know what was in all of these books. So that's kind of how my start to esoteric exploration. Okay. So, recently, I was reminded of how many of those old stories that are out there that have flying ships in them. Flying ships. Awful lot of flying ships. So many flying ships that it's like, okay, do people just have this fascination with flight and dream of making a flying ship, so they invent one in fantasy and their fiction, and then eventually, born of that inspiration, we strive and come up and develop these machines that allow us to take to the air and reach for the stars? Is that the thing that happens, or are some of these stories perhaps accounts and recordings of when such achievements have already been accomplished by man in the past? Now, this gets us to the woohoo, ancient alien type stuff. But what if the so-called ancient aliens are not aliens at all, but merely human, and the technology that they possess is, although certainly more advanced than dragging knuckles across the sand and banging rocks together, perhaps not necessarily starship level advancement. For example, we have tales from the Hopi of ships that resemble not ships, but aircraft, some sort of flying machine, that resemble a hide shield. I had to go do some digging to figure out what a Hopi hide shield might look like. Didn't even know that they had hide shields. So that was a shock. And they're kind of an oblong shape. So we have sort of the craft are an oblong shape. Okay. There are Vimanas that are described this way. So maybe the Hopis and the Indians are describing similar machines. Different perspectives, similar machines. Maybe not even the same precise machines. Maybe they're different styles of them, different manufacturers, so to speak, different makes and models, possibly even different means of propulsion, maybe even different means of providing lift. Once again, none of these accounts is incredibly detailed as far as technical information, just flying machines. Okay, fine. But how many others were there? Well, recently I was reminded that in that collection of stories on that bookshelf I was referring to just a little while ago, there had been a story about a flying ship, and I was, oh yeah, it was in the Russian stories, a story about a flying ship. And there were some other things about it that came to my attention. I thought about this one. Okay. There's the flying ship that the Russians have.
the Masons have a story about a flying ship that's supposed to belong to King Solomon. Hello there. This is a tink caterpillar. Hi. Hello, tink caterpillar. I'm sorry. We cannot allow you to... oh wow, look at that. There's another worm. Why all these worms? Why all these worms? I'm going to give these worms to the birds. Yep. Get out there. Get out there. The birds get you. And I began to wonder about... sorry, I'm getting a little distracted. Okay, so I recall there's the story of the Russian flying ship. I believe it was the Fool and the flying ship. It had some interesting characteristics. There was the King Solomon's airship. There's the Mana accounts. There's the Hopi flying machine account, shaped kind of an oblong. The Manas, some of them shaped like an oblong. I don't think that there was a specific on some of these others about particularly what shape. I have to go and find the Russian story. But I kind of got the impression it was built kind of like an actual ship, right? But anyway, thing here. I think we're going to lose this castor beans. Probably not a great place for it. That's an elderberry. We're going to leave it for now, but we'll transplant it. We'll transplant it later. All right. Oh my goodness. So, what was the other bit? One of the qualities of the airship in the Russian story was that it could be folded up. It could be folded up. And then one of the characteristics of the King Solomon's airship story was that it could be folded up. So kind of the literary interpretation in the Russian story of an actual ship, the way they depicted it, but could be folded up, doesn't exactly work. But if we're talking about a hot air balloon, it is an envelope of silk, which they definitely had and could have made, and a basket. Sometimes you have stories about people being lifted up into heaven in baskets from other traditions, right? Into the heavens in a basket. And suddenly we have an idea that perhaps this airship, these flying machines that we're talking about, are lighter than aircraft, hot air balloons, and perhaps even a dirigible in some cases, where we have a stone that is used to produce the mana that causes the craft to lift up. The mana. What is it? We don't know. That's what the word means. Mana. What is it? Well, if you don't have a word for a colorless, odorless, and tasteless gas that is lighter than air, and that could be liberated by either applying heat or chemical process to serpentine stone, then, well, yeah, you got that. Mana. What is it? Don't know. But the gas we would call hydrogen today. Ooh, what's under here? All right, so this butterweed, it just goes everywhere. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. I gotta get in here. I got some asparagus right down here. Make sure I not accidentally pull up the asparagus, because it is tiny and doesn't need the root disturbance right now. There we go. I wasn't sure if planting asparagus this far under the canopy was going to be a good idea or not, but it seems to be coming up. Whether or not it produces or not, that'd be a different story. But remember, asparagus comes up early in the season, right? Whenever you harvest it. Whenever you're growing asparagus for the spears, they come up early in the season. And early in the season, the pecan tree just hasn't put on much in the way of leaves. So there's plenty of time for asparagus under a pecan tree, as long as it doesn't suffer from allelopathy, and it doesn't look like that's the case,
There's plenty of time for asparagus under a pecan tree to grow and produce its thing. I just brushed up against this guy and felt a little tingle. Hello. Meliodas. This one is a blister beetle. Bye. That's a blister beetle, and he is not happy at me because I am taking away his food source. What's his food source? Oh, this stuff right here. He wants to eat this stuff. Alright. Well, off you go. We're going to get rid of you. La 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 la. So, I recently saw an illustration. Somebody had just tacked it on the end of a video that was demonstrating a process for liberating hydrogen from uranium ore, of all things. Like, okay, I don't know why you would want to pick uranium ore as your feedstock, but I suppose you could. But the process required very high temperatures, like 650 degrees or something like that, in order to actually get the elemental hydrogen out, or at least all of it out. And of course, it depends upon what type, specifically what type of ore you're working with. But there are a lot of serpentine ores that are hydrogen bearing, and apparently in the process of synthesizing even the serpentine rock out of olivine or other stones, you can release hydrogen, which is interesting. Alright, but this got me thinking about Mohenjo-Daro, where they say they found high amounts of radiation. And of course, the stories from Mahabharata about people growing sick from the weapons used. The symptoms sound like the symptoms of radiation sickness. Well, if they're not making nuclear weapons, but they are taking green rocks, olivine, serpentine, and they're using them to generate hydrogen, either chemically or by heat, in order to operate their flying ships, or the manas. Oh, this is a clover that the bugs are eating everything off of. It's good for you. Hopefully it'll grow back. Then perhaps, alright, sorry, I got distracted. Alright, so if they are actually using these green rocks as a means of filling up the gas bags, the envelopes for their flying ships, technology not outside of the capabilities of people of the era, mind you. Right? They know how they know silk, they know how to weave it, they know how to make it fine. They even at one point were using layers of silk to make armor. Can you imagine? It would stop arrows. Yeah. Armor that can stop arrows made out of silk. If they can stop arrows with the tightness of the weave, then they can probably make a sufficient envelope to hold either hot air or hydrogen. So if we have dirigible craft, these sky chariots, so to speak, that are given lift by liberating the mana from green stone, and some of that green stone is uranium ore. Probably get some lift out of that too, even at lower temps. But the byproduct of operating it might indeed give you the kind of sickness that are described, the people suffering from the side effects of the weapons used in the month throughout the war. And of course, if you imagine, you got some people putting together you know, their own flying ship. They know how to do it. They've got, you know, the instructions. They got their green stone. They start cooking the rock, and then they all die. You can see why this technology may have been abandoned early on. But you can't imagine this one. If you had a craft that you could power up by liberating hydrogen, you wouldn't have to have pressure tanks to hold your gas like we do in a modern dirigible. You could just simply, if you had enough of the stone available, whenever you needed to gain lift again after having stopped somewhere and you want to take off and fly again, you just heat the stone up, capture the gas in the envelope, and up and off you go. Alright, so right now we're going to weed around here, try to avoid the strawberries. I'm going to get that castor bean, huh? There we go. Avoiding the strawberries, get that elm tree, sedge grass, elm tree, yeah, lots of trees. Strawberry, regular old grass. There's some more regular grass back there. Yeah, oh, grass. So, I can't recall off the top of my head the name of the story. There is one where it says, it's from Ethiopia, and it says that Solomon gave the Queen of Sheba a ship that could traverse the wind, and I believe it also could be folded up. So what it sounds like to me is they had hot air balloons. They had hot air balloons. They may have had some rigid frame craft that they threw together. All right, so all this space underneath, right there, it's on the edge. You could plant stuff into it as we go into the summer. As it is, the basic ground cover clover is going to grow in and fill in that space really nicely. That clover is nitrogen, and that's our nitrogen fixer for this particular area, is the clover. So kind of want to make sure that it gets its opportunity to grow, get thick, and produce fertilizer for it. Sorry, I was meandering. Right, now over here on the other side of the walkway, more cannas, and of course, as you can see, we got a lot of stuff here, a lot of debris from the radishes, which are now done. They produce seed. We harvested the seeds from them, so we're just going to get rid of those stalks, open up the space, and plant probably some more clover into that area, actually. And then as we move along, you'll notice that we're getting into some jungle here. Oh my gosh, that's the Jerusalem artichoke, and it's just shooting up here. But there's butterweed down there at the base, and we're going to need to get rid of that. And of course, we've got a friendly neighborhood frog just chilling on a log there. Hey, you've been watching Green Country Agroforestry.